Hey guys, this is Grixon. So this is going to be a rather long video, and we're going to be talking about pretty much all things Mythic Plus with Blood DK. Let's get into this, right? So we're going to be talking about covenants. We're going to be talking about rotation / opener. We're going to be talking about examples of pulls, an overall overview of Mythic Plus as like a guide if you're a newer Blood DK and you really want to check this stuff out. So right now I am Kyrian. Let's look at talents here. Actually, before I get anything like that, let's get into talents here. So Blood, the general Mythic Plus setup right now for 9.2, this is May 12th, is we want Tombstone most of the time, and you could get away without it, but the reason why we take Tombstone right now, if we look at our de facto legendary, it is Wasteguard. It doesn't have to be a Wasteguard, but it's the Crimson Rune weapon. Now if you look at the print here, Dancing Rune weapon generates 5 bone shield charges. Then when one bone shield shard is consumed, the cooldown of Dancing Rune weapon is reduced by 5 seconds. That is the most important part here. So don't really worry so much about the rune regeneration at the end. That is nice, but that is not the big thing here. Is that 5-second takeoff every time we lose a bone shield stack. Because Dancing Rune weapon with the 4-piece, when you take damage, you have a chance equal of 100% of your parry, chance to lash out and heart striking your attacker. But the big part about this whole thing tying together is Dancing Rune weapon now summons 2 rune weapons. If you didn't know, for Blood DKs, when we press Dancing Rune weapon, normally we get 1 extra just floating weapon that mimics our attacks at 33% I'm dropping stuff. At 33% effectiveness. So if I blood boil right now, I did 11k. This is training dummies. But if I Dancing Rune weapon and then do it, they blood boil as well. So they will do it as well. So they have 33% effectiveness each. So a blood boil will do 166% damage, and that's good threat. Why we take Tombstone is every time we heart strike, our Dancing Rune weapons are heart striking too. So it's 3 heart strikes when you cast it once. That is going to make your Dancing Rune weapon last a lot longer. So that's 1.5 seconds each time you cast heart strike with those up. So Tombstone, getting back to this whole point, Tombstone can eat up 5 bone shield charges. That's 5 seconds per one. It's great. It helps a lot. And there's the icing on the cake therefore is it also gives you runic power and an absorb shield. So it's nice to use, and frankly Heartbreaker isn't as compelling now because we're going to be flooded with runic power as it is. Having these Dancing Rune weapons up, having all these heart strikes going, it's just not as strong now. So I understand Tombstone is another button to press. Like for me, it's really awkward. I actually have it as Shift 5. Like that's nuts. But anyways, that's how I have it fit in right here. So if you can make it work, you actually, with and all these relics, you actually probably won't even need to use Tombstone all the time. But it's really helpful if you need to go to a new pack and Dancing Rune weapon has fallen off, but it has like 30 seconds left and your bone shield stacks are going to fall off soon. You can just pop Tombstone, eat a bunch of them, and then have Dancing Rune weapon good to go. So it is very nice to use. Like once you get the hang of it, it's very helpful. Okay, on this row, Hemostasis is really still the only pick. It's the only valid pick still. Very good. Blood Boil gives us the Hemostasis stack. That's increases your next death strike by 8%, stacking up to 5 times. So just your natural play, you're going to be blood boiling, and then you're just going to have a fat death strike if you need it, when you need it. Very effective, very easy. So, Relish in Blood and Foul Bulwark have both lost some ground. Blood Tap is another button you're going to have to press, right? Like mine is number 3, but the more runes you have for this new Heart Strike kind of meta, you know, because of our tier, the better. So Blood Tap gains a lot more value than it already had, because that's just more runes we have for Heart Strikes during the Dancing Rune Weapon window, which you can make really well. Like, you can make it go a long time. Will the Necropolis still the best by far? It's just not a competition still. I always take Grip of the Dead. Unless it's SOA, Spires of Ascension, I might be compelled to take Wraithwalk, but the problem is that's just another button I have to keep track of. So sometimes you'll take it. In Spires of Ascension, there's a lot of mobs that you don't really want to slow. If you're doing after the first boss, any of those big pulls, you normally don't want them slow. So sometimes I'll take Wraithwalk for that dungeon only. Voracious, still very great. Death Strike's healing is increased with 20% and grants you 15% leech. This is nice because we're not Death Striking nearly as much as we used to. So if you're doing your rotation, your Heart Strike and Heart Strike and Heart Strike, throw a Death Strike in there. Get that 15% leech. Every 8 seconds, you should probably just throw a Death Strike in there, even if you don't really need it, because 15% leech of all that damage you're doing from Heart Strikes is very nice. You'll just be passively healing yourself if you can keep that up. Now, for this, you probably want to have Bone Storm a lot of the time. I know, another button, but you're going to be so runic power flooded that it's a great way to dump it, do damage, and heal yourself. Purgatory, I've been taking a lot more lately just because I've been doing like 23s and 24s. So, I don't know. It's nice to have it if I need it. So, lately I've been taking that, but for most of this season, I've taken Bone Storm. And you could argue a lot of these 23s, 24s I've been doing, I could have been just fine with Bone Storm. Alright, so that's talents for Mythic Plus. This is kind of like what you want to aim for. Now, I understand you're getting more buttons, right? Like 2 more buttons from here. Like, that sucks. I know Blood DKs have a billion buttons, but if you can hotkey well, like if you can manage it, it's great. So if you're not quite there yet for Tombstone, or even if you don't have tier yet, you know, you could go Heartbreaker still. But once you have forward piece, I would encourage you to try Tombstone and try to get the hang of it. And also Blood Tap if you can. If you can't, you know, Relish in Blood, you know, even Foul Bulwark will be fine. Whichever one you're thinking there. But I would also encourage you to get the hang of Blood Tap, because it's a free rune every minute, right? Because you want to have one always charging. You want to use one, and you want it to be charging pretty much all the time. So if you don't use one every minute, you're throwing away free runes over the course of a dungeon. So that's another thing that'll just take a little bit of practice, but it's very intuitive once you get the hang of it. Okay, that goes over talents. Let's talk about openers. So it doesn't really matter what covenant you're playing here, but the general opener is, especially like, let's just get this 3-pack here. Let's just say it's a whatever 3-pack. So normally what I would be doing here is I'd be running to the target. I would put a Death and Decay, press my Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil for threat, and then maybe I'd pop a Rune Weapon, a Rune Tap, or Blood Tap, whatever, and then just Heart Striking. See, every time I do it, I'm getting a good amount. Maybe throw in another Blood Tap, maybe another Blood Boil, maybe a Death Strike. The basic thing here is these blood boils are going to do a lot of damage. And when you get this 40% strength, it stacks with that. So you're going to be running out of runes often. I'm sorry, bone shield stacks often. Basically, you'll be pairing a lot, so you probably won't be hitting it that often. Like, you probably won't be running out of them often. But we could tombstone right now. Boom, take out a lot of seconds out of there. So the big thing here is you want to blood boil after Dancing Rune Weapon is out, because you want those rune weapons to also blood boil too. That's going to help you a lot with threat. And then basically it's keeping track of rune weapon, spending a death strike here and there, dumping runic power with bone storm if you have it, and then just keeping a blood boil going pretty often. You know, don't forget your other cooldowns too. Like, don't forget to put out your ghoul. Don't forget if you're taking magic damage. You know, just you need to be rotating these things often. And these cooldowns, other seasons used to be more of like, oh crap, I really need this. Now, Dancing Rune Weapon uptime is very, very important. And a lot of these cooldowns can be used situationally and to help stabilize you during a bigger pull, especially in the very beginning. But really, yeah, the better you can make use of this Dancing Rune Weapon window and keeping it up super long, the better. So let's talk about covenants. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that everybody is so happy of right now is Kyrian. Where am I looking right now? I need to be looking at my spell book for Kyrian. Alright, Shackled the Unworthy. This is what it's all about right here, is this. Alright. So it reduces the damage people do to you by 8%. So you put a debuff on a target, a big dot. It's going to do a dot. It's going to do arcane damage over 17 seconds. And it's going to reduce damage they do to you by 8%. And then, while Shackle the Unworthy is active on an enemy, your direct damage attacks spend runes have 100% chance to spread the shackle. So, that's all fine and good. But then, when you look at Unity, when Shackle the Unworthy is applied to an enemy, instantly gain a rune, and your damage is increased by 4%, stacking up to 20. So, let's break this down. We are getting a big dot. We are taking 8% less damage from the mobs affected by it. And after 4 shackle spreads, we are getting 20% increased strength, not including endless rune walls from tier. But the big thing, why it's picked, is Dancing Rune Weapon uptime. So let's talk about this. I'm going to go in, I'm going to Death and Decay, I'm going to pop Dancing Rune Weapon, I'm going to Blood Boil, and I'm going to start Heart Striking here. We're going, we're going, we're going. Put on Death Strike, another Blood Boil, we're going, we're going. Oh no, we're almost out of runes, right? We're pretty much bottom boil. Shackle the Unworthy. Look, free runes while stuff was, while things were recharging. In a bigger pull, in a 5 pull, in a 10 pull, whatever, that shackle is going to be spreading. It's going to be working for you. And what you want to do with this is always do your opener, get your stuff done, use almost all your runes if you can, then shackle, then keep spreading it, and all your runes will replenish. Then you can keep Heart Striking. Shackle the Unworthy will scale with that 40% strength you get from your Endless Rune Waltz. That is the whole thing why people care so much about Kyrian right now, is that interaction of Shackle the Unworthy giving you free Heart Strikes to let your runes replenish, and then you can do it all over again. And if it's a big pull, we take Mechanicos. And why this is important. The blasted damage, whatever, reduces the cooldown of Shackle the Unworthy by 4 seconds per enemy to a maximum of 20 seconds. So, we are taking a 1 minute cooldown and we're making it 40 seconds. This means in big pulls, we can do this every 40 seconds. And you pretty much can, like if you're an Arden wield in DOS, you can pretty much just keep this going, And I'll show you an example of that a little bit later. But Kyrian is very nice for that. However, there's a pitfall. Shackled and Worthy does a lot of damage, but we're doing it near the end of our rune cycle. So this means you have the worst on-pull threat of all covenants. That's what that means. Okay, next we will talk about other covenants. Let's talk about Night Fae. Alright, so for Night Fae, let's talk about Night Fae. Unity, so Night Fae has rampant transference, right? How that works is, let me go right here to look at that. So we have Death's Due. Death's Due is your death and decay, but it looks like a big flower. Like it looks like a circular death blossom thing. Alright, how this guy is going to work is it does a lot more damage than your regular death and decay. So you have a lot more incentive to keep things in this Death's Due. It's going to be pretty much your top damage overall, if not your second. It'll probably be your second damage overall next to Heartstrike. So just your death and decay, Death's Due, will be your second damage overall. So big incentive to keep things in the death and decay. So weeks that kite a lot, you probably will lose a lot of value. But anyways, while you remain within the area of your Death's Due, your Heartstrike will hit up to 3 additional targets and inflict Death's Due for 12 seconds, which is normal death and decay stuff except for the Death's Due. Death's Due reduces damage enemies deal to you by 2%, maximum up to 8%, just like Kyrian. And their power is transferred to you as an equal amount of strength. So, just like Kyrian, while we're in there and we're Heartstriking, we're making it so they do less damage to us, up to 8%. And we're getting strength. With the Unity, the strength from Death's Due is increased by 3% and persists for 20 seconds longer. By 3% and persists for 2 seconds longer. While standing within your Death's Due, your runic power generation is increased by 20%. So, basically what this means is we're getting 20% strength while in our Death and Decay, spreading Heartstrike. And we regenerate our runes faster. These runes come back faster while we're in our Death and Decay. So it's a different way of going about it. It's not going to be as insane in AoE in terms of, kind of like doing a backpedal, adding more things. It is very helpful. Like it's very, very useful, and it's very, very sturdy. And it works very similar to Kyrian in terms of that. You're just not spreading shackles at the end. You're not getting that instant reward unless you're standing in Death and Decay. But what makes Night Fae really good is the Naya Soulbind. Everything you're doing is increasing your mastery, increasing your health. Naya is just amazing. 20% increased movement speed after defeating an enemy. Naya's Burrs drops like a cantrip on the ground, and then when something walks over it or is already standing there, it pops on them and then does a bunch of nature damage. Here's a good one. Fall below 50% health, you gain 20% of your health over 10 seconds and receive additional healing from spells in a building, 10% additional. So everything that's going on here is just like saving your bacon, smoothing out your damage profile, making it so you do a lot more damage while you're in your Death's Due / Death and Decay. Everything here is crazy, crazy useful. Your max health is going to go way up while you're fighting and doing a good job. You're going to get 20% increased strength from this, just like Kyrian. It's very nice, and it's a good one. Also, very important, especially if you're in like Theater of Pain or something like that, with all these like long hallways and like walking around, you get the blink. You get that really fast blink, and it's very nice for if you have to get out of a situation fast too. So just like before, you know, you would put your Death Stew down, get some Heart Strikes in, get some Blood Boils in. The Blood Boil is very important because of, I'll show you. It is, that's not what I wanted. Go back here. Right here. Heart Strike deals 33% increased damage to enemies infected by Blood Plague. So Heart Strike, our #1 ability now, because all the rune weapons mimic it. Everything we're doing does it. So we want that Blood Plague on there so our Heart Strikes do more damage. So it's very important that after Dancing Rune Weapon is up, you're putting a Blood Boil out there, so your Heart Strikes are going to do a lot more damage. Okay, that is most of what is important with Night Fae. Very, very basic, but because of the high might of Death's Due, you're pretty much going to be hard casting it very often. Like, you're not going to be fishing for Crimson Scourge procs as much. You're going to be wanting to put it down. And so sometimes you're going to have to make a decision of, do I Heart Strike again, or do I put down Death's Due? And this is a decision you're going to have to make during the situation, and if you're going to need to sacrifice your Dancing Rune Weapon for it. And it will be difficult. It's not as easy as, you know, Kyrian, just spread shackle, keep it going. Death's Due is also going to give you that 20% runic power regeneration, as well as that strength stack. So it's something you have to think about if you value the movement speed and the toughness of Night Fae. Alright, let's talk about, before I move on, one thing that is really, really not really spoken about, but it's a little quirk. If you use Lichborn, you are pretty much undead for the time, right? You cannot blink. You cannot use your soul shape while Lichborn is up. Look, it's about to end. Now I can use it. So if you're in the middle of a pull and something goes bad, make sure Lichborn isn't up. If you're going to use Lichborn, probably use it at the beginning of a pull. Something to think about, that Lichborn makes you unable to do blink. I don't know if that's a glitch or if that's just part of the game, but it's something you should know about. If you're trying to blink out of something and you're like, why isn't this working? That's why. Alright, let's talk about Necrolord. Alright, as I said, Necrolord. One thing to know, alright, you know, blah blah blah, let's get into this. Alright, I like to take Plague Deviser Merilith for Necrolord. I like having a lot of benefits from using my, what is the ability called? Not the Abomination, the Fleshcraft. I love the benefits you get from Fleshcraft while you're Merilith. You know, the Kevin's Oozling is nice. It's really good for single target. Helps you out. You know, you've got pretty much a stagger effect right here. While above 80% health, 5% of damage taken is absorbed and spread out over 5 seconds. So if you can stay higher on health, it's a nice way to get kind of a stagger. Ultimate Form. This can be helpful during any kind of crowd control stuff, any kind of CC stuff, like the last boss of TOP. When she's pulling you in, you can start doing Fleshcraft and just not be pulled in anymore. And it gives you a lot of health, so you can do this during a pull. Even if you're kind of halfway through it, you can do this to kind of take a little breather, take some hits. You know, the Cleansing Slime thing, that's whatever for durability. When reduced by 50% health, oozes Ooze courses over you, granting you a shield for 15% of your maximum health. So a lot of things that are helpful here, but the big one is the very first one actually. When you fleshcraft, whatever dead things are around you that you've killed, if they're humanoid, if they're undead, if they're spirit, if they're elemental, all these things will give you a different buff. But because we are humanoid, when we do it, we get mastery, and a good amount of mastery too. So you pretty much just get a passive mastery buff. Alright, let's talk about Abomination's Limb. A-Bomb Limb is pretty much like a mass grip. It's going to be pulling things to you. It's going to be doing damage. It's going to be giving you bone shield charges. Now this ties in really well with Tombstone. So it's going to be doing damage. It's going to be giving you bone shield stacks, and it's going to be gripping things in. Then Unity, it's going to increase the duration of A-Bomb Limb, and it's going to be giving you more bone shield stacks. It's going to overcap bone shield stacks. I don't think there's a way, even with Tombstone, that you're going to not waste some bone shield stacks. It's going to overcap. But what is nice here, the first time an enemy is damaged by A-Bomb Limb, they take 20% increased damage from you. Have you noticed the theme that all of these things do 20% in some way? The other two covenants we saw were 20% strength outright. This one is they take 20% increased damage from you. So in the beginning of a pull, this is very useful. You can just get on demand 20% increased damage. Blood boils with Dancing Weapon are just going to be amped up. So very good on pull threat. Very good on pull threat. And like I said, when you are going to use this thing, see my bone chill stacks just going up, going up. I can even Tombstone right now. I'm down to 1. It's just going to keep going up. You know, it lasts a long time. Even with Tombstone, I make it 10. I may have still even overcapped 1. I'm not sure. So it will do a lot of damage, and it will, you know, it'll just do a lot. Not only are you doing 20% increased damage, but the A-Bomb Limb will be hitting, doing more damage. Your blood boils will be hitting, doing more damage. Your heart strikes, all that. So it's a good covenant, very solid. A lot of on-pull threat, especially if you're. It really helps bridge the gap on some of these bone shield charge issues you may be having where you drop stacks often. Very good covenant for that. One trick before a key starts, when they're doing like the whole countdown, the 5, 4, 3, 2, whatever, you can do vampiric blood to increase your health. Then you can fleshcraft. Fleshcraft snapshots whatever health you had, and it gives you a big shield for it. So fleshcraft. It puts a shield on you for 40% of your health. So if we have 124k just chilling, we do that, 162, then we fleshcraft. We have a 104,000 damage shield right off the bat. So what you can do with this is before a key starts, you can vamp blood, fleshcraft. The key starts, your fleshcraft resets, your vamp blood resets. So you pretty much just got it for free, a huge amped up shield. So when you go into your first pull, you can do all of your stuff. Once the shield ends, you can re-fleshcraft again for another shield if you wanted to. It's just a nice little way to get a little bit more out of a key. Is right before the key starts, you can vamp blood, fleshcraft. And if you're playing with a warrior, you can ask that warrior to rallying cry for you to increase your health, then vamp blood, then fleshcraft. And the key starts, you'll have a fatty shield before you've even done anything. Very fun, very rewarding for Necrolord. Alright, honorable mention, we'll go and check out Venthyr. However, Venthyr these days, has really fallen out of favor. And I'll be right back. I'm gonna switch to Venthyr and we'll discuss it. All right, we are Venthyr. So, one nice thing, you get Swarming Mist. Swarming Mist does a bunch of damage AoE around you. It gives you 13% dodge. And when it does damage, it gives you runic power. So it's kind of uncapped. You get up to 5 targets, you do a certain amount of damage, and after that you do less, but it does hit everything. Yeah, season 1, season 2, Venthyr was super desired because we always wanted runic power on demand. We loved the dodge. We loved the AoE threat it gave. Having a teleport is pretty nice. Very nice to have. It was overall a solid pick. So we had Swarming Mist and the teleport, and then right now I have it as Nadia, but honestly I haven't played this that much since, and the reason why I was using Nadia was you get 20% haste. As long as you're pulling, you get a mini Bloodlust every now and then. You have to maintain these stacks, and at 40 stacks you get 20% haste. And then at the end, on the back end, you're going to, as long as your stats are pretty well budgeted, you're going to get 20% versatility. So you'll get the 20% haste, and when that ends, you'll get 20% versatility. So pretty good, and it rewards fast play. All of these are very good for Mythic Plus. Draven, very, very hard focused on toughness, but you'll do the least amount of damage with him. And then he gives you 10% increased stamina when you stand still. Stuff like that. Very, very just hold your ground, like that's actually what it's called, and then just fight. Mad Duke, pretty good. Huge mastery buff if you stand under the shade. And then we also get Wasteland Propriety. You can get a pretty good... Oh, that's not the one I want. Sorry. Duke's Mad... Where's the Duke's Mad Tea? I think you just get that. Okay. Yeah, so this one, you drink the tea, and then for 4 hours, you pretty much can either get haste, versatility, critical strike, or even strength. And you'll just, it can be nice, but yeah, if you do not have tier yet, at all yet, I would say Venthyr is your bet. Venthyr is very good, and the reason why it's not played that much anymore is because of tier. We want as much haste as possible, and when we're hard striking, we're going to be flooded with runic power. The strength of having runic power on demand with Swarming Mist kind of loses its value. Couple that with the unity. So it just did a big 64 tick. So pretty much this is how the unity works for it. When Swarming Mist ends, it deals shadow damage to 5 nearby enemies, not past the 5, just to 5 only. So if you're fighting 10 mobs, it's only going to affect 5. It'll heal you for 25% of the damage dealt. The damage is increased by 2% for every 1 runic power spent while in Swarming Mist. Because we're runic power flooded a lot, we're not spending it as hard as we used to. I mean, you could probably put in a nice Bone Storm or something in there, like just dump some runic power during it, but honestly, it's damage at the back end of Swarming Mist, and we just don't need the runic power. It's just not as helpful as the other covenants, when it just offers less than the other covenants. It doesn't give you increased strength. It doesn't make it so that mobs do less damage to you. It's still good, like if you're in an SD or a Halls of Atonement, and to there's no Venthyr, go Venthyr. Like, it's not trash. Like, you want to be picking the Covenant that is suited to the dungeon when nobody else can do it. So Blood DKs are very fortunate that we can play all the Covenants and they're all relatively good. Like I said, Venthyr just falls behind the others, but not by like, it's not like unplayable. So definitely play all the Covenants if you want. If it's for the dungeon bonus, definitely you're a great candidate to do it. I would say that's a good idea. And so for this one, you know, you probably want to still do, well, I guess if you have tier, you'd want a Dancing Rune Weapon, you know, do the whole Death and Decay, Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil, hit some attacks, put Swarming Mist out there. But, you know, like I said, you're probably going to want to be taking Bone Storm because you're going to have so much runic power, you're not going to know what to do with it. So you're going to build runic power so fast that you're going to need to most likely take Bone Storm and just spend it fast. So yeah, that is Venthyr, and that is the reasoning why we just this is the reason why it just kind of fell out of favor. Okay, so recapping, the legendary we always take now is Crimson Rune Weapon because of how it interacts with the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon. And right now, Dancing Rune Weapon and Heart Strike are king. So any way you can influence to squeeze out more Dancing Rune Weapon uptime and more Heart Strikes, the overall more tanky you'll be and the more damage you will do. You know, this was a 23 DOS I did earlier today. Where's that? The overall, you know, I did almost 11k. Heart Strike number 1, Shackling Worthy number 2. You know, and I would argue that on a tyrannical week, you might even get more benefit out of Night Fae because of the single target damage it does. And I don't have to spread Shackling Worthy a bunch of times to get that 20% strength. I just have to hit the boss 4 times with Death and Decay, Death Stew down, and I'll have it. So, yeah, those are the Covenants. Those are the little gotchas with certain ones in terms of like starting a key, doing your Fleshcraft with the Vamp Blood to boost it. Night Fae with the Blink with Lichborn blocking you from doing it. Yeah, so we'll take a look at some keys and we'll talk about them. Just kind of like showing the points of this, showing the playstyle a bit, and why we make some of the decisions for the Crimson Rune Weapon Legendary and relationship between Tombstone with the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon to, you know, lower it so you can use it again faster. Yeah. All right. We'll take a look at those things. I'll see you guys in a bit. Also, as a side note here, let's talk a little bit about consumables and rune crafting, you know, rune carving or whatever it's called. We want to use Rune of the Fallen Crusader almost always. There could be some argument for a couple others. Where is that? I might actually not even have it on my bars. Rune Forging. There could be an argument for Rune of Hysteria just to increase your runic power, but it's way less useful now that we have Dancing Rune Weapon giving us so much runic power. Yeah, the only thing I see being good is Rune of the Fallen Crusader. Gives you, it can heal 6% of your maximum health when it procs, and it procs often, and then also gives you 15% strength. So we have a lot of strength modifiers we can deal with. So Rune of the Fallen Crusader is going to be the best one by a good amount for Blood DK. And then we want to be looking at haste and versatility. Trying to get as much haste as possible would be nice. But also still being tanky. Just the more haste, the more heart strikes we can get out, pretty much. And then, for consumables, you still want to use a Spectral Flask of Power. You can use the haste food, the versatility food. Both of those will be good. Obviously, Gluttonous Feast of Hedonism, the main stat ones, are preferable. Still using Shadowcore Oil, still using the Augment Runes, and if you're using Shadowcore Oil, you then can use Potion of Phantom Fire during a boss fight. Lets you do a lot more single target damage for 25 seconds as a consumable, or you can use a strength one. From there, I gemmed and enchanted haste on my rings, gemmed the belt with haste, got primary stats on the chest, got stamina here on the cloak, and that would be gems and enchants and consumables. Alright, this first example I'm going to show, first example / clip, this is of Kyrian, and this is about the opener / how we interact with things. So, as I've said before in the beginning, when you're Kyrian, you want to put down a Death and Decay to get some initial threat. You want to Dancing Rune Weapon as soon as possible. 1, for the parry chance, but 2, because your Blood Boils do so much more damage, right? Because you have 2 rune weapons out. They're going to do 33% of your damage each. So your Blood Boils are going to be doing like 166% damage at that time. And that'll help you get that AoE threat. Then we start Heart Striking. Now, you are getting stacks of Endless Rune Waltz, your tier. The Shackle the Unworthy scales with the amount of strength you have. So if you can build up, if you can expend runes, get some of those strength stacks from the tier going, your Shackle will do more damage. And it doesn't like snapshot, so it's like if you start it at like 20 stacks of Endless Rune Waltz, each stack you get, it's going to amp up the dot damage. Like it's not going to just stop at 20%. Oh, it does this amount of damage now. So as you keep building it, it'll keep ticking for higher. So let's take a look at this pull. Now keep in mind this is a inspiring week and it's a tyrannical week. So you get a lot more damage and juice out of a fortified week. But anyways, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to mind control this inspired because we are Blood Decay and this is undead, these cultists. So we are just awesome. So let's take a look at this thing. Alright, so we're going to come here, mind control that, pull these guys in, Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil. We're gonna, I use my scale that I have, but basically we might even Blood Boil again. I'm not sure. So when I got low on runes, I did Shackle the Unworthy. And then if you look, me spreading it right now, I'm pretty much getting Heart Strikes. I got Heart Strikes for free for a while. I'm already at max stacks. And all of this was just ticking damage. If you look at my damage on the bottom right, I'm hitting up 23k on this pull. And you just keep it alive. 3 more seconds with I can do Shackle again if I wanted to. I let my Inspired go because everything that mattered died, and we just finish it up. So that's kind of the opener of Kyrian Blood Decay. Okay, let's look at another example, this time of Night Fae. And this is a 23 Necrotic week during a Fortified Spiteful Necrotic week. I like Night Fae for Necrotic. I like being able to blink out quickly if I get into trouble. Obviously, Kyrian is good for that too with the pot. So let's take a look at this one. So I'm going to grab these parts in and I'm going to fight this relic pack right here. I did a Blood Boil just quickly to get it rolling, try and get some aggro, and then a Blood Boil again while Dancing Rune Weapon's up. Then I want to keep these things inside my Death's Due as much as I can. Now, I thought I was going to get hit, but when you're Night Fae, you really need to prioritize death and the Death and Decay, the Death's Due. Like, it's very important that you have it up as much as possible. Crimson Scourge procs, obviously, but you're going to be hard casting it a lot too. So, as I said, I had a choice there. Put my Death's Due down or Heart Strike again to keep Dancing Rune Weapon alive. You're obviously not going to get the same amount of Dancing Rune Weapon uptime as you would as Kyrian, but as we said, Rune Regeneration is 20% faster while you're in your Death's Due. It does a truckload more damage than regular Death and Decay, and it's just good. So it still applies with the Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil, and maintaining stacks, keeping Death's Due up. In this key, I'm running Bone Storm, so I'm dumping a lot into that, and that's Night Fae. Okay, this one is a Necrolord key, and it's a 22 Plaguefall during a bursting week. So as I said before, there's a little trick in the beginning where you can do a Vampiric Blood and then your shield before the key starts. So I'm going to do a countdown because it's my key, and I'm going to Vamp Blood and put a shield. So now I have a big shield at the start of this key. Okay, because it's a bursting week, I'm not going to pull insanely. Like, I'm not going to pull all the slimes here because of bursting. Yeah, Volcanic was like nothing. This was a pretty good push week at the time. We can just, I won't skip ahead. We can just take a look at this one real quick. Got the Rogue to shroud us through. And so obviously Slappy Hands, Abomination Limb, when it hits a mob, it's going to take 20% increased damage from me for a certain amount of time. So I'm going to probably Dancing Rune Weapon here. Maybe I didn't. I grabbed some first, then Dancing Rune Weapons. And I think I'm going to do Slappy Hands here. I did the Blood Boil, so it's a good one. Spread across. Yeah, I think I actually save it. Did I save it? Yeah. I think it's because of bursting I saved it. This might not be the greatest example, so I use it afterwards, after the is up, to gather up the rest. Make sure I got the Blood Boil going, and just trying to get Heart Strikes in where I can to keep Dancing Rune Weapon going. So I know it's going to end soon, but I have everything back. And if you did notice, I did, while Abomination Limb was going, I did use Tombstone to bring down the cooldown. So we Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil, get Heart Strikes in, use our Death and Decay procs, and then just kind of balance everything. So using Blood Tap when it's appropriate. We never want to stay on 2 stacks of it. So I'm on 2 right now. I should be using it real soon. Yep, there it goes. And used Nitro boosts on my belt to get to the next guy. Make sure my Bone Shield stacks don't fall off, and my Dancing Rune Weapon didn't fall off. So I think there's one more good example that I can give, making use of my shield during a downtime kind of movement right here. All right, so we're going to come in here, we're going to Dancing Rune Weapon, we're going to Blood Boil. Actually, I opted for A-Bomb Limb first, so they take 20% increased damage, then Blood Boil for a lot of on-pull threat. And then we're just keeping it up. If you look at my damage, I'm keeping up with all the DPS. That was a mistake on my part. But in a pull like this, obviously the situational awareness, you want to keep that frontal away from the team. If you have the Plague Rock, you want to make sure the wing buffet is not near them. So there's a lot of positional requirements here to keep the team like not getting frontaled by wing buffet or the spray. And yeah, pretty much it's okay to go down to 1 Bone Shield stack, because while you have Dancing Rune up, if you Morrowind and take 2 runes, you're going to go from 1 stack to 10. Because each of your rune weapons are going to give you 3 stacks, plus you. So that's 9. Yeah. That's how you play Necrolord. Okay, this is going to be the end of the Blood DK rotation opener mythic guide. I do not have any good info for raiding. I just don't raid, so I have time constraints, and it's just not something I can do. So I can't help you too much with raiding questions, but I can speak a little bit to other things that are important in a Mythic Plus environment that are helpful as a tank, or just anyway. You want something somewhat in the center of your screen. You need to be able to see what you're tracking. You want all the cooldowns here are very important. As Blood DK, we have so many that we can use. So you want to be graying the stuff out as much as possible. Like, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So throughout a dungeon, if you leave a lot of these open, that's just going to be so many less that you got throughout the key that could have kept you alive and stable. And right here, this is kind of an example of backing up and kind of just keeping my Dancing Rune weapon alive, doing what I have to, and then just trying to make sure I never show my back to the mobs. So always trying to take them somewhat face on here, try and set up what I can, and just keep it alive, keep it going. And having this stuff in the center of my screen, my eyes are looking at my Dancing Rune weapon, they're looking at my runes, they're looking at my targets. A good nameplate can tell you a lot, especially if you start to spread shackle. There's a lot of good information that you want to have somewhat centered. That's why I kind of have like this here. Like I look here, I look off to the left, I look in the middle, and I look, at the mobs. So it's very important you never show your back to the enemy, and setting up a good UI where you can clearly see what needs to be, what information you need, and it's not an overload. The only reason why I use mixed scrolling combat text right here is usually after the fact when I'm reviewing the keys with everybody. So it's usually why I would be doing that. Like, if it was just me playing and I wasn't recording stuff, I might actually not keep it on there. It's nice to be able to see what kind of damage I did at certain times. Yeah, so I'm kind of just doing this back pedal and just keeping hard strikes going, shackling when I can. I mean, I can just keep this pole alive, like, almost indefinitely, right? Because every hard strike that I cast is upping Dancing Rune weapon by 1.5 seconds each time. And if you see my stacks, if they're about to run out, sure, I'll refresh them. But I don't care if they get down to 1 stack, just not 0. And see, I can already shackle again and get free hard strikes to let some of my stuff recuperate. And yeah, that's how you when I'm playing Kyrian, those are the kind of things I'm trying to do, is just keep uptime. Dancing Rune weapon uptime. This whole season is about Dancing Rune weapon uptime. And yeah, that's Blood DK Mythic Plus. If there's something else that is missing from this guide, other questions you may have, please feel free to leave a comment about it. Let me know what was missed. If you'd like to join the Grixon YouTube community Discord, there will be a link in the description for that, so you can join it. All I ask is that in the introductions channel, when you're a new member, you're only going to see introductions and YouTube videos. In the introductions, if you just say hi or say a little bit about yourself, I'll make sure to see it and then add you as a member. And then once you're a member, you'll see like general meme off-topic stuff, key review submissions, all my weak or UI stuff I maintain, Linux stuff. Yeah, and there's just a community of people here who can help answer any quick questions you may have, or I can help you whenever. So, yeah, if you appreciate the hard work, or if there's information I messed up or left out, again, please let me know. Please feel free to like the video if you want other people to see this type of content. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, I'll still be doing the weekly vault openings and affix discussion, what to expect for the week as a tank. And yeah, hope this was helpful. See you guys later.